So good evening and welcome again to the awarding of the Charles Stark Draper Prize for Engineering. The Draper Prize is one of the world's preeminent awards for engineering achievement. And our special thanks go to Doc Draper for his legacy and to Draper for endowing this prize. You'll learn more about the history of the prize and the man behind it, as well as the accomplishments of this year's prize recipient shortly. But first, I'd like to take the opportunity to acknowledge some of our special guests and supporters who are seated throughout the room. So please stand if you are able as your name is called, and I ask everyone to hold their applause until members in each group have been recognized for this. Joining Stuart Parkin and his wife Claudia Felser, who's also a member of the National Academy of Engineering, I might add, here, his sister Isabel Parker and her partner Andrew Sharp. Please stand and guests Spike Narayan, Heike Reel, and Paul Weiss. Thank you for being here. I also want to mention that we have a former winner of the Draper Prize here as well, and I'm really pleased he could make it. Bob Kahn is, I think, over here, and he won in 2001. So, Bob, congratulations. Thank you for being here. Representing the Charles Stark Draper Laboratory, we have Anthony Korapanis, Vice President of Engineering. Mary Kim, Vice President and General Counsel. There she is. Amy Hart, Vice President of Contracts. Thank you. I'd also like to have Ki Tong, Bill Wolpe, Christopher Banks, and Adrian Sullivan stand and be recognized from Draper. And thank you for your service to engineering and for your continued support of the Draper Prize. The NAE truly appreciates it. Also with us are four leaders of the National Academy of National Academies. Wes Harris, Vice President of the NAE. Where's Wes? There he is. Al Romig, Executive Officer of the NAE. And Greg Sims, Chief Program Officer, the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine, the NRC. Thank you for joining us. And please join me in welcoming leaders of federal agencies and national societies who are here. From the National Science Foundation, we have three visitors. Susan Margulies. Susan? She's the Assistant Director for Engineering. She's the one you go to if you want to talk to her tonight, get money for your research, your academic. Dima Da Silva, who's the Acting Assistant Director of Computer and Information Science and Engineering. Dima? And Denise Caldwell, Acting Assistant Director for the Directorate for Social and Behavioral and Economic Sciences. It's hard for me to see out there, but I hope you saw they are. And from the National Action Council for Minorities Engineering, NACME, a well-established organization, we have Michelle Lazama. Who's here? Michelle? President and CEO of NACME. And accompanied by Carmen Sidbury and Brianna McIntyre. Please stand. And from Discover E, we have Kathy Renzetti, Executive Director. Where's Kathy? There she is. And Discover E does great things with young people, and I know Dr. Parkin was talking to some of those young folks yesterday. Thank you for being here and supporting this year's Draper Prize. It's also a special honor to have with us this evening a representative from the Embassy of the United Kingdom, Ms. Chloe Lianos, Director of the UK Research and Innovation North America. Chloe, thank you. An interesting tidbit about this year's recipient of the Draper Prize is that Dr. Parkin is a citizen of three countries: the United States, the United Kingdom, where he was born, and Germany. And I think I asked him at lunch why three, and he said he enjoyed paying income taxes so much he thought he would be a citizen of all three. Not really, but that's what. But that's unique. I don't think I've met anybody that was a citizen of 3 countries. Thank you, Chloe, for showing your international support for both the Draper Prize and Dr. Parkin. We appreciate it very much. I'd like to have Professor Arindon Bose, Vice Chair of the 2024 Draper Prize Committee, Ms. Chessie Briggs, NAE staff member, and all the members of the Draper Prize Selection Committee stand and be recognized for your efforts in coordinating this wonderful event. Please stand if you're on the committee. Right? And of course, welcome to the many family members, friends, and colleagues of this year's Draper Prize recipients. We're very glad you could join us this evening as we honor the 2024 Draper Prize recipient, Dr. Stuart Parkin. This week is Engineers Week. The theme, Welcome to the Future, is about celebrating today's achievements and paving the way for a brighter and more diverse future in engineering and attracting young people into the field of engineering. In his remarks at the NAE National Meeting earlier this month, NAE Chair Don Winter, former Secretary of the Navy, spoke briefly about the stages of change of our nation that have occurred. And this included the steam age, followed by the industrial age, which was supplanted by the information age. And Don's view was that looking at the breadth of recent engineering accomplishments and their impact on society, the term the engineering age is well suited for what is transpiring today. It's an interesting concept and one that acknowledges the impacts of engineering and engineers that have shaped our world. From life-saving vaccines to space travel to our global connectedness through the World Wide Web. Engineers are creating the change in the world needs to be safe, for the world to be safe, secure, and prosperous. Throughout 2024, the 60th anniversary of the founding of the Academy of Engineering, we will celebrate engineers and the role they play in addressing some of the biggest challenges our world has ever faced. Everything from mitigating and adapting to climate change, to securing our energy resources, and safeguarding our citizens and protecting our planet. Engineers are called upon to create solutions that are feasible, optimal, and meet physical and economic constraints, all while taking into account health, environmental, and equity considerations. It's a big job, and it calls for creative minds. It demands diverse skill sets and backgrounds, and it requires global efforts. Engineers, this is our time. Welcome to the future, the engineering age. One of my favorite quotes is by Theodore von Karman, the father of aeronautics and the first recipient of the U.S. Medal of Science. He received it from President Kennedy in 1962. And maybe some of you have heard me say this before, but it deserves repeating this evening. In describing the difference between scientists and engineers, von Karman, I would actually say, describing the difference between science and engineering, science is about discovering what is, engineering is about creating what never was. Tonight we celebrate the coming together of science and engineering and creating what never was. We celebrate the accomplishments of Dr. Stuart Parkin, an experimental physicist for engineering spintronic technologies, enabling digital information storage that serves as a foundation for our data-driven world. Stuart Parkin is a pioneer in science and application of spintronic materials. His observations of the behavior of thin film magnetic structures were critical to enabling increases in the data density and capacity of computer hard disk drives. His discoveries in spintronics have enabled more than 1,000-fold increase in the storage capacity of magnetic disk drives, making way for the big data world in which we live today and making possible all the things we do on the internet. For a few words on the Draper Prize and Dr. Parkin's contributions, please join me in welcoming Tony Koropanis, Vice President of Engineering at Draper. Tony.
Good evening. A famous physicist once said, "The important thing is not to stop questioning." That was Albert Einstein. He also said, "It's not that I'm so smart, it's just that I stay with problems longer." Tonight, we're here to celebrate a physicist who never stopped questioning, who never stopped applying himself. We are here to salute Dr. Stuart Parkin in his lifelong work in spintronics technologies. At the dawn of computers nearly 80 years ago, memory storage required technologies like magnetic drums and magnetic tape. The first hard disk drive to have gigabyte capacity was as big as a refrigerator, and that was in 1980. Nowadays, we are used to having hundreds of gigabytes of storage capacity in our computers. Today, more than 70% of all data is stored in massive arrays of magnetic disk drives, each of which uses Dr. Parkin's spintronic reading devices. Professor Stuart Parkin's inventions have revolutionized computer technology, effectively making today's information economy possible. His innovations can be felt in biotechnology, space systems, research and development, and across national security and defense. These are some of the same sectors where Draper continues to deliver innovations of its own. Yes, the fires of big data revolution are burning brightly thanks to Dr. Stuart Parkin. Your success in delivering new capabilities is the essence and mission of Draper, of the Draper Prize, and of our founder, Dr. Charles Stark Draper, and it is the essence and mission of engineering. On behalf of the entire Draper community, congratulations to you, Dr. Parkin, for earning engineering's highest international award, the Charles Stark Draper Prize. Thank you.
No, I think you can, yeah. Thank you, Tony. And again, special thanks to Draper for creating this prize. It's wonderful inspiration for all of us, young and old. What began as a vision has become one aspect of the legacy of Charles Stark Draper. Let's take a look at the legendary engineer behind the prize, Doc Draper, and the individual being honored with this year's Charles Stark Draper Prize for Engineering, Stuart Parkin.
The Charles Stark Draper Prize for Engineering was established by the National Academy of Engineering and endowed by the Charles Stark Draper Laboratory Incorporated in 1988 to honor the memory of Doc Draper, the father of inertial navigation, and to increase public understanding of the contributions of engineering to the freedom and well-being of humanity. The prize recognizes engineers responsible for technological developments that have transformed modern life. Doc Draper was an educator who trained generations of students at MIT. His belief that education needed a hands-on component led him to establish the instrumentation laboratory within MIT's aeronautics department. In 1973, MIT divested the laboratory, thus creating Draper, an independent, not-for-profit engineering solutions company. The Draper Prize acknowledges working solutions rather than theoretical discoveries. Examples of past winners include the developers of controlled drug delivery systems, creators of the GPS, inventors of the cell phone, innovators in wireless communications, and pioneers of personal computers and the Internet. Without these remarkable engineering achievements, much that we take for granted in our day-to-day lives would not exist. The 2024 Draper Prize is awarded to Dr. Stuart Parkin for engineering spintronic technologies, enabling digital information storage that serves as a foundation for today's data-driven world. Spin electronics, or spintronics, goes beyond conventional charge-based devices and technologies and makes use of a quantum mechanical phenomenon that has unique properties, the electron spin. In the mid-1990s, Parkin demonstrated a sensing device that detected the magnetic spin of electrons, making it possible to manufacture hard disk drives that could store and read thousands of times the amount of data than before. Spintronics technologies opened up the possibilities to construct non-volatile memory storage devices with high storage density, low power consumption, and fast operation that are inexpensive and robust. Dr. Parkin is an experimental physicist and director at the Max Planck Institute of Microstructure Physics in Halle, Germany, and an Alexander von Humboldt professor at the Institute of Physics of the Martin Luther University, Halle-Wittenberg, Germany. His research interests include spintronic materials and devices for advanced sensor, memory, and logic applications, oxide thin film heterostructures, topological metals, exotic superconductors, and cognitive devices. Parkin was elected to the NAE in 2009, and he is also an elected fellow or member of 7 professional science and engineering societies, including the Royal Society, Royal Academy of Engineering, National Academy of Sciences, and the German National Academy of Science Leopoldina. Parkin has received 4 honorary doctorates, published more than 685 papers, holds more than 126 patents, and has given approximately 1,000 invited talks around the world. Today, more than 70% of all data is stored in massive arrays of magnetic disk drives, each of which uses Parkin's spintronic reading devices. These vast digital server libraries, often called cloud storage, allow for universal access to information. Social networking tools, the world's libraries, music and films, and advances in many fields such as public health, internet banking, e-commerce, logistics, and surveillance are also made possible by the enormous data storage capacity of these spintronic devices. In recognition of these innovations that have transformed our world, we award Dr. Stuart Parkin the 2024 Charles Stark Draper Prize for Engineering.
We now have the privilege of awarding the 2024 Draper Prize in Engineering. The recipient of the Draper Prize receives a $500,000 cash award, a commemorative medallion, and a hand-scribed certificate. Stuart, the check is in the mail. And when you get it, you owe your coworkers a drink, I would say, as well. To date, 60 pioneering engineers have received this honor. This evening, we add one more to that distinguished list. Dr. Stuart Parkin, congratulations, and please join us at the stage.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank the National Academy of Engineering for having awarded me the 2024 Charles Draper Prize. I'm truly honored to be the recipient of this wonderful prize, especially because it's given by the National Academy of Engineering, perhaps the most influential society of engineers around the world. And even more importantly, because of the remarkable series of engineers and technologists who have been awarded with the Draper Prize since it was first awarded 35 years ago. Of course, no one can carry out his or her work all by themselves. So I would really, truly like to thank the many colleagues who I've worked with over the years, both students, postdoctoral and visiting scientists, and many collaborators from around the world. So I took my degrees at the University of Cambridge, So I'm a citizen of the UK, was born there. And at Cambridge, I had taken a degree in physics with a theoretical option to avoid the need to carry out laboratory courses. I was very good at taking exams. So when I decided to take to carry out a PhD, I needed a lot of advice as to what sort of PhD I should do, and I decided to carry out a PhD in experimental, not theoretical physics. And I think this was a very good decision. So I was fortunate during my PhD to be elected a research fellow at my college, Trinity College, in the annual competition at the end of the second year of my PhD. And what this meant was that I was funded by the college for the 4 years out of the next 6 years. And so I could leave the college and travel abroad for postdoctoral studies. And I did this. I first went to Paris, France, and then to San Jose, California, to IBM Research. Now, in principle, I could have returned to Cambridge. Actually, I could have gone to UC Berkeley, where they offered me an assistant professorship. But rather, I decided to stay with IBM Research, because it was such a marvelous place to carry out research. And I stayed there for a number of years, a significant number of years, till I left IBM for the Max Planck Society in Germany in 2015. Now, the main reason to move to Germany was I got married. I got married to Claudia Felser, who's here today, in 2014. Rather unusually, we got married not just once, but actually 3 times. First, we had a wedding in Bangalore in India that was organized by some very good friends of ours, Professor Ram Rao and his wife, Indu. Secondly, we were officially married at a ceremony in Aachen in Germany. And finally, in July 2015, we had a fantastic wedding at my alma mater, Trinity College. It was very unusual. Very, very few weddings take place at the college. So this was a fantastic occasion. And actually, we combined the marriage with a workshop so we could invite all our friends and colleagues. And the day after the wedding, the workshop began. Now, a secondary reason to move to the Max Planck Society is their philosophy of supporting research over one's entire lifetime, at least until retirement. That's the downside. Of a director, once you're appointed, you have sufficient. Of course, there can never be enough resources, but nevertheless, sufficient resources to carry out research and essentially complete freedom to do what one wishes. This was very similar to the philosophy at IBM Research when I joined, and especially after I was appointed an IBM Fellow by IBM's chairman, Lou Gerstner, in 1999. As a fellow, you basically have a great deal of freedom to do whatever type of research you prefer to carry out. Now, I wanted to make a comment that I think sustained investment in exploratory science and technology is absolutely necessary to develop what might just be a germ of an idea into something concrete and of significant value to society. And so in this regard, sustained support is the embodiment of the ideal of the Max Planck Society in Germany. So it's a really great place to carry out research that might require considerable efforts and exploration over very many years. And my own research has this character. One has a concept, and it might take, in my case, it might take 10 or 20 years to develop and prove that concept is a reality. And so today, I'm actually of the belief that much of science truly is engineering. So we need to build unique tools in order to push those frontiers of research. And in my case, my own research is pretty much about building structures one atomic layer at a time to build a thin film heterostructure and to construct new materials with unique properties. And I'm most interested in developing properties with an application in mind, even if it's 10 or 15 years into the future. And this research I find is super exciting because it's very difficult to theoretically predict the properties of interfaces in atomically engineered materials. So you need a lot of intuition and a lot of exploration. When I first joined IBM, I actually went there to work on organic metals, the first family of which had been shown to become superconducting under pressure the year before I joined Denis Gérome's group in Paris as a postdoc. After I joined IBM, I went there to work on organic metals, and we discovered the second family of organic superconductors that is known even until today. However, after I joined IBM, a short time after this, after we discovered this new family of organic superconductors, IBM decided to abandon work on this topic. and asked me to work in some area of exploratory magnetism. Actually, I carried out my PhD at the University of Cambridge on the magnetic properties of a series of so-called van der Waals 2D metals intercalated with the 3D transition metal elements. And perhaps interestingly, these materials from my PhD are popular again after 40 years. So finally, my papers from that time are being cited. So it is very, very good. In any case, I decided at IBM that thin film magnetic multi-layered structures was a very interesting topic, and I persuaded IBM to invest more than $1 million in a molecular beam epitaxy deposition system. It was especially designed for magnetic materials. And after traveling around the world to visit all the companies, there were not so many, a handful of companies that could build such a system, and after I purchased, or IBM purchased and installed, I installed this system in IBM's newly constructed Almaden Research Center in 1985. The management then decided that they would hire an expert in molecular beam epitaxy thin film growth because I had no such expertise. So I lost the lab that I just completed after several years of effort. Fortunately, I had a remaining sum of about $50,000, and I was able to build by myself, a much simpler, smaller thin film deposition system using a very different, simpler technology, magnetron sputtering. However, this turned out to be a blessing in disguise. With this system, I could explore pretty much by myself a huge variety of materials and thin film structures. The throughput of this tiny system was 20 times greater than the molecular beam epitaxy system that I bought, and it cost 20 times less than this MBE system. And it was using this system that I carried out all my early research into spin valve sensors, and really enabled me, I think, to leap ahead of all the groups in the world who had decided collectively that molecular beam epitaxy, a very exotic, expensive technique, was necessary to prepare the very best thin film magnetic heterostructures. This was based on work on semiconductor heterostructures, but it was not the case for metals. And I like to think my own work using much simpler magnetron sputtering techniques, which are techniques applicable to large-scale manufacturing. I like to think that I was able to demonstrate to the community that actually molecular beam epitaxy, this expensive technique, wasn't necessary, and their thinking was rather short-sighted. So engineering special purpose tools, I believe, is essential for fundamental science. You cannot carry out today's science to push the frontiers forward without building tools. This is, I think, a very important point. So engineering fundamentally is connected to basic science. And so at IBM, I was very lucky that there was a fantastic model shop which one could use to build rather complex machines. And moreover, I was very fortunate to work with an excellent mechanical engineer, Robert Mizrahi. He helped me design and construct a series of increasingly complex thin film deposition systems. And I much respected Robert. He was a highly intelligent, honorable man, an immigrant to the United States like myself, and he only joined IBM Research when he was already 65. And fortunately, he kept on telling me he wanted to retire, but I was able to persuade him, Robert, to keep on working with me till he was more than 80 years old. And without these machines that he helped me build and design, I couldn't have carried out the research that I was able to do. At the Max Planck Society, since I moved there in 2015, with a fantastic group of engineers and scientists, I've been able to build what we believe is an even more sophisticated set of tools to explore and create materials from the engineering of atomically layered structures and interfaces at the atomic scale. Yesterday, at the Future Cities event that John mentioned, that had more than 1,000 middle and high school attendees, and which I was invited to participate in, I was asked by one of the middle school students, what keeps my inspiration today? And basically, I just remain amazed by the natural world and its remarkable variety and complexity. And we're only just beginning to unravel what makes it all work. And there are so many opportunities to go beyond the natural world, to create and engineer materials and devices that I believe can make the world a better place. I think that is what continues to excite me today. And I think that research that expands our horizons, but yet can have impact on all our lives, cannot be beaten as a career choice. Well, lastly, I want to thank several of my friends and colleagues for having come tonight to help me celebrate this award. I'm I'm very happy that Heike Reel could come all the way from IBM Zurich. Spike Narayan, my former boss at Almaden, came from San Jose, California. Paul Weiss from LA, and my sister Isabel and her partner Andy from the far north of Canada. And finally, I want to especially thank my wife, Claudia Felser, for her support and enormous wiseness, which I much admire. So let me once more thank the National Academy of Engineering and the Draper Foundation. I'm greatly honored to have been chosen for this wonderful award. Thank you. Okay, thank you. So
yeah, you can relax now. Time to relax. The partying begins, as they say. Congratulations to Dr. Parkin. Congratulations to Draper and to the NAE. The lesson I got from this was I heard a couple things, and one is that engineering supports science and science supports engineering, and I think we have to keep that in mind, that the two are synergistic and we work together to make the world a better place. The other thing is progress in research is not linear. A lot of things happen, and sometimes you wonder if it's just fate or whatever, but you take advantage of an opportunity when it comes around. Sometimes an opportunity is lesser resources, so you have to be a little more creative to do something. So I think it's a great message. The message about working to your past 80 didn't resonate with me very much, but that's all right. I'm not gonna talk about that one. So I think I'm looking at where we're going now, and I think that I think it's time for dessert, as I understand it. Is that right? And we're going to do that in the West Court. That's where we were. There's dessert there, a little more than we had here. And it's a chance for you to go and personally congratulate Stuart on this award and Claudia and talk with him. And there should be some good beverages there as well to help us with our dessert. Thank you all for being here. It's a great time, great inspiration. And thank you, Stuart, and congratulations again.